Hamburger has been assigned an attorney. Isabel Johnson still on the run after murdering a 43-year-old man in the panhandle of Florida. And significant developments in the Nancy Guthrie case, all packed into this episode of the Bullhorn Betty Show. So come on in, guys. Grab yourself a beverage, sit on down, and let's get into it.
Bullhorn Betty rocks.
Coffee steaming, files on the table. We clocking early, hunt what's unstable. Bullhorn Betty on the curb, voice raised. Flip-flop queen with the homemade phrase. Notebook thick, got the screenshots flag. Names in red ink, every rumor, every tag. Late night live stream, screen glow on her face. Truth in her throat, got a lawman's pace. She don't blink when the threats roll through. Come see me, she says, if you think that's cute. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. Insane Asylum, that's our crew nickname. Laugh so loud while we track these names. Whiteboard wild with the webs we spin. Pen to pen, see the pattern sink in. Turmo shaking when the case goes cold. We stir it back up, won't do what we're told. Doorstep question, side eye stare. Where were you that night? We hanging right there. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. This for the faces on the milk cart labels. This for the families praying at tables. This for the names that the news won't say. We say them out loud every single day. Every day. If you're running in the dark, better feel that fear. Betty got a bullhorn right in your ear. Coffee club crazy, but we think so clear. One small town, whole world gonna hear. Hey! Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that the day gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we take red
So welcome. If you are new to the show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our content moving forward. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. We got quite the show. We've already covered some of this stuff last night, but I don't think we understand the true importance of what we're hearing here. So we're going to kind of be breaking all of this down this morning when it comes to the Nancy Guthrie case, the breaking news, I wouldn't even call it developing story. I would just, I'm almost, it's a significant update in this case. I mean, significant. This kind of tells us that there is, that results are starting to come in on the lab work. And that's going to be critical because now we're realizing, okay, we're at this kind of 6-month mark. Everybody's been working around the clock. We, the public, have been, of course, pressuring law enforcement. That's kind of what all we're doing here, right? Calling him the criminal sheriff. We do a lot of things in an effort to create urgency and pressure on these bodies that are doing these things, especially the ones that we realize has fouled up a case. We make them feel, we don't let them off very easy when the public feels that the case has been improperly investigated. I mean, we are we've been doing this so long that it's offensive when law enforcement goes up there and says, how would the public know? I can promise you we know. And people like me are out here every day educating people about the law and about the nuances with law enforcement and standard operating procedures and what comes next and what phase are we in from missing person where they're able to communicate with the public very freely to when that turns over to a criminal investigation, and some of that stuff has to be now held to the chest and really restricted and stuff like that. And we can always tell kind of where we are in these investigations based upon the conduct of usually the sheriff or the public information officer. You know, we can always kind of feel, and we have a little insight as well. We've been doing this for a while, so we've got some friends in the business that kind of, you know, keep our guardrails up in a sense, but, you know, sometimes we disagree even with the experts. And this would be one of those cases where we've disagreed with a lot of experts on our channel, okay? Especially when it came to the ransom note, you know, and even early on when they were talking about this being a burglary. I mean, we were kind of putting up some defenses to that, and we're like, this doesn't make sense. But that was prior to us realizing that this assailant was there on January 11th. And that is true. He was there on January 11th and then didn't come back for a total of 3 weeks. And when he did come back, now he's got a backpack, a full backpack. He's got a firearm on him, not just a toolbox. These are very highly concerning, you know, details in the case that mean something. But when we don't have a good picture, we don't really know what it means. And that is by design, right? Law enforcement doesn't want us knowing hardly anything about these cases. They don't want us basically solving them in the public light, right? It puts them in a disadvantage because surprise, shock, and awe is part of their the pressure that they have for their assailants. So, you know, media does in reality does kind of affect law enforcement's ability in these cases, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it affects it because our laws are designed so we are able to have freedom of press and learn about this. And there's not a whole lot our government can do when it comes to what knowledge Americans can have. That is the design of our country. Some other countries don't have the design like that. They are more tyrannical. We have what we consider a free nation. Many people say we're not free. I mean, we're talking about flock cameras yesterday. We are doing an investigative report on flock cameras. That is going to be coming up. I didn't realize how many people in it's not true crime. I get it. But it does affect crime and it does affect tracking of us. And we need to have people need to understand what these systems are. I believe in knowledge, right? If you have the knowledge and you still say, you know what, I want the flock cameras in my community, or I want these AI cameras in my community, then okay, you know, you have, but at least you have all the information to make an informed decision. And that's what we, the people, demand. We want to be able to make informed decisions, and right now we don't have that ability. So we're going to step back just a little bit because it's not going to be, we're not going to dive right into Miss Nancy Guthrie. I'm going to say good morning to all of you guys. If you're new to this channel, we kind of have a way we go through. I kind of do my intro and my hook, my cold open. And then we kind of pull it back. We say good morning to everybody. And then we dive into some breaking news that don't necessarily go with the topic of conversation that we're having. Today's topic of conversation is their biggest piece of evidence just fell through the cracks. And that's the reality of what we heard yesterday, but we didn't quite connect the dots. But now that we've had time to digest the information we've learned yesterday, we realize how much of a blow it is. And it makes me wonder, was the prior day and the news cycle from the prior day talking about how they have this whole amount of DNA, was that so we weren't so hard on the shock that we just lost the most significant piece of DNA in this case? And that's what we failed to realize yesterday. We lost the most significant piece of evidence in this case so far. And then when you look at the day before's news cycle, you're like, were we just manipulated? Were we just once again manipulated by the local media in conjunction, in concert with the sheriff's department? And I'm starting to feel like, yeah, we just were. Again, media out there, you guys, I'm not even going to go there. We all kind of hate mainstream media because of this bullcrap right here. So I think we went on a manipulation trip the day before, but we didn't realize it because now we're hearing this information yesterday, late yesterday. And we're trying to make heads or tails of it. And now we're realizing how significant yesterday's information was. And we lost the hair, folks. And we thought that the hair was conclusive. We thought it didn't match the suspect. That's how it was presented yesterday. Excuse me, I gotta sneeze. I forgot to take my allergy pills this morning as I sneeze. I just realized I forgot to take the allergy pill. This is a live show, folks. So if I gotta sneeze, it comes out whether we like it or not. Okay, this is not an edited live show. This is a true broadcast. So sneezes happen. Sneezes happen. But we lost the most significant piece of evidence, folks. Think about it. What did we lose? We lost the hair. Guys, we lost the hair. This is not good. And we're hearing articles saying now all we have is the mixture of 5 people. More than 4 people. That's not good news. But the day before, they were running reports about how they have a massive amount, a treasure trove of DNA. I found that funny. That the day before, we have now a treasure trove of DNA, and then followed by the very next day, oh, we lost the most significant piece of evidence in the case, the hair. And the hair, we actually presented to our audience yesterday, ignorantly, that it was, it didn't match the suspect. So obviously it matched somebody. I mean, when you hear titles like that, am I wrong for saying that? When you hear titles like that, you think, okay. But let's step back. So Frank It Up, it's nice to see you. Melanie, good morning. Let Them 66, it's nice to see you. Thank you so much. We do have a goal, guys, if you guys would like to be a part of it. The hair is inconclusive. Whose hair was it? I'd like you guys to answer, and again, this is open to anybody, so you guys can do 99 cents, $1, or you can just put it in the chat. But that is the question for the day. If you guys would like to support the channel while you answer the question, please consider doing so. Otherwise, I'm interested in your responses. So Melanie's telling everybody good morning. TGIF. TGIF. I hope everyone has a good day. Much love to BHB. Prayers to whomever needs them and not sure who hair it could belong to. So yesterday we were had a positive spin on everything. Today, not so much, because we realize how significant yesterday's information was. Unicorn, Rocco, it's nice to see you. Good morning, loves. I hope you guys are doing well. Frank, Melanie, Unicorn, it's nice to see you. Good morning, Chad and Andrea from North Carolina. It's nice to have you here. Good morning. Good morning. Terry, good morning. Phil from across the pond. It's nice to see you. Our beautiful Sonia up in the chat this morning. Don't forget, we do have some specials going on in the digital front. We do have free Bullhorn Betty swag we're giving out. You get a drawstring bag, you get a pen, and you get a lanyard with all Bullhorn Betty branded. You get that with $100 purchase or more from Sonia. You get free Bullhorn Betty swag. So you're going to want to get that before this is probably, once the supplies run out, the supplies are out. And she'll send all the supplies. I mean, even if it's only an extra bag or something like that, she'll send you out what we got. But the supplies are limited. So if you guys would like some free Bullhorn Betty swag, please consider reaching out to Sonia. She does a lot of things with her shop. She does custom shirts. She has a lot of different Bullhorn Betty stuff. So if you're just a fan of Bullhorn Betty and you want some shirts, reach out there. But if you have like a company event coming up, or a family reunion, or a birthday, a special birthday, she can brand things. She can make a shirt, a carry bag, and a hat, or a drinking mug, or a cup. all branded together for your friend or family member that you love, keepsakes that will last a really long time. And she does the embroidery, so you can have literally things that are going to last you a lifetime. Is there a new baby? Do you want to make a newborn shirt or a newborn onesie that you're going to keep for, until you're in your grave, right? You need something, you need a material or something that's going to last, right? Reach out to Sonia. She can do it. Do you have a corporate business? Do you want people with those embroidered shirts with their names on it? Reach out to Sonia, right? She does it. She's got a shirt shop and she custom designs everything. So there's no reason, if you need clothes that needs to have something on it, you need to be reaching out to Sonia. And this is good quality stuff, and you'll see why we use Sonia, because she makes sure that her boxes, when she sends you out stuff, she makes sure her boxes are the old day milk cartons, right? Everybody out there that's delivering, we have things delivered all over this country. Well, she's forcing those people that are out in our environment to look at missing people. And they're able to see, if they see somebody, I'm absolutely sure they're going to call that in. So it's a really good system. It works. And she doesn't really charge any different than, say, Custom Ink, right? So she's giving an extra service than Custom Ink will ever do. And you're getting a high quality product. So reach out to Sonia if you need something. Melanie, KMH, Frank It Up. It's nice to see you. Trainwreck, good morning. Mincy, it's nice to see you. Jewel, good morning. Wreckham, Texas Tech. Miss Robin's up in the house. Uh-oh. Oh, Little Orange Man, Alien Ape Farm. Good morning. It's nice to see you. Weather Junkie, good morning. Groovy Gal. I see Captain Kid. Thanks for the star, bud. Who else do we have? Claudia, Danielle. Good morning, Sandy. It's nice to see you. Oh, Two-Speed. Well, hello, my love. I hope you're doing well. Claudia. Morning. Veronica. Morning. Do we have anybody else up in the chat I missed? Millie. Good morning. Yeah, I got it up today. I got the hair up today. Alaska Girl, Oakley. Did I say hi to you, Horsey? I feel like I said it to Victoria. It's nice to see you. Good morning. I feel like I told you that like way early, but I can't remember. If I forgot, Horsey Love, Eric, Momo, Lisa, good morning. Who else am I missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Brenda. I feel like I just plowed over people. Dreaming blue skies and sandy beaches. Hey, love. I hope you're doing well. Okay, I think we got everybody. If I missed you, Diverse. Marissa, good morning. Lake Life, good morning. Judy, it's nice to see you, love. Nana Stacy, good morning. Didn't sleep well. It might be the weather, the barometric pressure, this time of year. Like right here in Florida, it's raining, but my cucumber is growing. Like I got like one little cucumber that's just developing. It's like this big, but the other one's like this big. Like it's growing leaps and bounds. Like I went out there this morning and it's like grown already. Like you can physically see the growth of this cucumber. If you guys know anything, I'm growing cucumbers. First time I've ever grown cucumbers. Yes, it's not in season. I know we have farmers in the chat, okay? Is this in season? It's not in season, but this poor plant wanted to live, okay? It's a disgusting story, okay? It's a disgusting story. I'm going to tell you guys this disgusting story about the life of this cucumber. This cucumber fought to live, damn it. I mean, just fought to live. It wanted to grow, okay? And that's no joke. Why isn't this not coming on? It really did want to grow. So I have, the TikTok. Have you guys seen those little inserts for your kitchen sinks that have the little pushy things? Well, I got one of those, okay? And so I clean a lot of my meat in my sink, and people are like, oh, that's so gross, okay? Well, I sanitize my sink very, very, very well, okay? But I'm from the country. We usually deal with a lot of big meats, and we don't use the countertops because it's just, it just gets disgusting, and you have no real way to spray it off. So the only way you can spray it off and clean out your stuff is to use the sink. So I use the sink for my meat, for the preparation of my meat. Some people may not like it, and to each their own, to each their own. But because I use my sink, I have to sanitize it very, very well. So when I use meat in there, I bleach it. You know, I use a lot of different types of acids, whether it's peroxide or vinegar, right? Clean the sink with some baking soda. So we're using a lot of stuff to make sure it's disinfected and stuff like that. But I was, you know, I eat some salads and I eat some fruits and vegetables. And at this time I was making, you know, we had great spring vegetables coming in and spring fruit. So I was making that, and one of it was salad. So I was cutting up some cucumbers. Well, apparently I cleaned off my plate in the sink. Well, between the bottom drain and the little insert drain from the TikTok, well, when I went to clean out the sink, which I literally take a toothbrush it down the drain, you know, and clean. I'm anal about the cleaning of the sink. Well, there was this little seed, the seedling, that got caught in between the second drain and the insert drain. And I saw this little seedling, and I'm like, this is kind of gross that I got a seedling that was caught between my drains that is sprouting, okay? It takes like 3 days to sprout, so I knew that week was when it happened, okay? So I have this little sprout in between my drains when I went to clean it out, so I took some tweezers and I pulled it out, okay? And I thought, okay, this guy wants to live. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, I don't know what this is. It looked like it could have been a cucumber or a cantaloupe. I had both of those that week. And so I'm like, okay, let's go get something to put this damn thing in. So I got the little cup, the Real Me Too. No, it wasn't the Real Me Too. It's Be Betty fan bought me this little cup with this flower in it. It has, you know, branded Bullhorn. Betty has all these little things on it. It's real cute, white and pink cup. And I killed my flower that was in it before. So I'm like, you know what? I'll put this little seedling in here, you know? And I went back. Don't think it distracted me too much. I went back and finished sanitizing my sink, but this poor seedling had sprouted. So this thing it was trying to live, okay? So I gave it an opportunity to thrive. So I stuck it in this thing, and it started growing leaps and bounds. Well, now it's a vine. I'm like, what the hell do I do with a vine? I got nothing to prop it up on. So I spent $30 on this stupid trellis, right? And then this vine just starts growing crazy. And I'm like, what do I have? Do I have cantaloupe? Do I have cucumbers? And then finally the yellow flowers produce, and I realized I have cucumbers. If they were white flowers, they would have been cantaloupe. So I'd have had a whole different mess on my hand if it was cantaloupe. I mean, those are big fruit, right? So I got the trellis, and then the storms hit, because it's not supposed to be this. I mean, I should have been like planting this back in April, right? Back in February for a production in like April or May. It should have never gone to June, but this little thing just kept wanting to grow. And then when I put it on there, it kept growing and growing and growing. And then we had the storms, and the storms knocked the trellis over, and I lost half of my vines. So my vine broke in half, and it rotted right there on the trellis. So I had to, you know, weed all that out. It's a pain in the ass to do, by the way. And so now there's just this one vine, not two vines now. There's one vine, and the one vine is just now just growing leaps and bounds, and you guys seen the fruit. So that was the disgusting thing of a little TMI about Bullhorn Betty, how she prepares her food and how she cleans her sink. And so this particular week, I obviously didn't clean my sink properly for 3 days, but I didn't prepare any meats in my sink. I was eating salads that week, i.e. why there was a cucumber seed stuck in between the sink. So if that explains how this happens, kind of a disgusting, but this poor plant wanted to live, okay? And Betty has let it live. And now we got cucumbers growing in August. Survival of the fittest, okay? I don't know what to say. I saw the thing. I know it was just a little seedling, but you know, it sprouted. I mean, I can't kill a living creature. Or, you know, plant. It's still a creature. We don't know. I want to live on. Wants to live only to be eaten. Poor cucumber. I know. Wants to live only to be eaten. Well, all I can say is that cucumber plant really wants me to taste its fruit or vegetable. Okay, I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Let's not sidetrack too much. So that is kind of the funny part of our day. It was determined to live. It really was. And even after the storm that knocked the trellis over and broke the vine, the damn thing's still producing fruit. So I'm just, like I said, the poor thing wanted to live. I don't know how it's managing to do this in this heat, in a hurricane weather, but it's bound to survive. It is just, I don't know any other way to explain it other than this plant is bound to survive, and we're giving it the opportunity to thrive. So I don't know. Okay, a little tidbit. There's our bud, Mr. Brian Enton. We love Brian Enton. Brian Enton is you guys hear me dog mainstream media all the time, but one thing you guys do know is I do love certain mainstream, because they're not real. I mean, they're mainstream media, but they're old school. They're not this lazy media and journalism anymore. They're shoe leather people. They want the truth. They want transparency. They understand what freedom of press is. And those are Vinnie Politans, the Brian Entons, and the Nancy Graces of our country. Those are the people that we like and we support. So when I dog mainstream media, I am not dogging these people. These people I highly respect. I highly respect with all get out. And Brian Enton is one of these people that I absolutely highly respect. And somebody I would go to the mattress. I mean, I got mad at Criminal Network, blocked him for a little while because of what he said about Brian Enton. He's obviously come back down from that. And you know, we've repaired that. Obviously, he was here just the other day. But prior to that, I was very, very upset with him. I even said some pretty nasty things. Not because, and I still supported him even with me being so angry, because he was still, you know, his rights were still violated. It doesn't change that aspect of it. But, you know, I'm glad that those issues settled down. But it came to Brian Enton, you know, Brian Enton, I have high respect for. And if you know anything about me, you know, that old adage that you need to surround yourself by people in the room that will fight for you even when you're not there. That's kind of where I am when it comes to Brian, because he's so highly respected in my world that it upsets me when I hear people dogging him, because he's he's like, not only that, he truly cares, first and foremost, which is very hard to find in mainstream media, but he really does care. And he's just a nice person. You know, you can tell he's a nice person when he speaks on these cases. You can just tell that about him. But he's also like that in real life. I mean, he's not one thing on these, you know, mainstream media and social media, and then a different way when, like, you meet him or get to know him. He really is just a really good, nice guy. And he, you know, he covers these true crime cases, and he is a welcome partner, not on just mainstream media stage, but on social media stage, because he helps us. He helps us a lot. And he keeps things together. So anyways, here's Brian Enton.
So some interesting new information that Brian Koberger was inside the victim's house before the murders, like days before, and that he may have been following around the victims. This information.
Remember how, if you guys were watching, how many of you guys in my chat paid attention to the Idaho 4 case? Just, you can use pink hands, you can use the number 1, you can use, I mean, if you guys were around for the Idaho 4, how many of you guys in the chat were around for Idaho 4? Riley Rue, thank you. Sometimes our chat's a little slow. Let me change this. Oh, hey, Kay. It's nice to see you, love bug. I hope you're doing well. Jacob, good morning. Judy, 1. Kathy. Oh, Kathy, good morning. Good morning, love. Where did that go? From LawTube, yes, but not here. Okay. So, do you guys remember, now let me ask you this, do you guys remember at the beginning of the case, it was dismissed very early on, by law enforcement nonetheless, but do you guys remember some of her friends stated that she felt like she was being followed? Do you guys remember that? And we were dismissed. Remember, law enforcement said, oh yeah, we went into these whatever businesses and confirmed that we found the boy. They wasn't following. It was all misunderstanding. You guys remember that conversation too? I just want to see how much you remember, because this may change, you know, when we start diving into this, because we're not here yet. This is just like a cursory review to give you guys some breaking news information. But yeah, well, now we're finding out it is possible that in fact and indeed they were being followed. And I just want to point this out, because there's a lot of time, especially with Chris Nanos constantly giving us stuff and manipulating us and confusing us, right? So this was another one that law enforcement had told us that it was a nothing burger. That this whole, her feeling like she was being followed was a nothing burger. And now we're finding out this all these years later, that she was in fact followed, most likely by Bryan Kohberger. This is from his own defense expert too, by the way. His own defense expert. And I think this is why they pled, because they could prove that Bryan was in the living room of that house. And that was from his own investigators in the case. So they would have never been able to use that investigator for their case, because he's still required to tell the truth. He cannot lie under oath. And his investigation, from my understanding, put Bryan Kohberger in the living room of the house at 1122 King Road. So I just want to put that, you know, just put that down right here and let you guys just gnaw on it and process that for a minute.
It comes from Cy Ray, who was one of the defense witnesses. So he was working for the defense, but he's now speaking out. He went over all of the cell phone data for the defense and came to these conclusions. Listen to what he told me. You're saying, based on the data you saw, the latitude, longitude for Bryan Kohberger's Samsung was in the living room?
Samsung's also unique that if I do certain things with certain apps that require location data, such as GPS or navigation, that accuracy from the 3,000 or the 5,000 meter ranges come down to 25 meters. And in this particular case, if you look at those precise measurements, there's probably 5 that land directly on what would be the living room of the house. Like the latitude, longitude is the physical house itself.
Wow.
And, you know, if you put the house back on the map and you map those, the hits are inside the house.
So you're saying, based on the data you saw...
Now, I will say this. I think that what this guy, I'm glad this guy comes forward. He's never going to represent or present anything in the Bryan Kohberger case. But my concern is he seems like he's very knowledgeable. And I know that today's society, we're all kind of in the public domain. We've kind of put ourselves in the public domain. I don't know how comfortable I am with, and this is just from a legal, you know, because I'm a legal professional. Before I became this, I went to college to be a legal professional. Not an attorney, but a legal professional, okay? And so I have this thing called ethics, and it's just something that's drilled into me, okay? And confidentiality, another aspect of my job that I had no choice. Like, I could be fired, I could be sued, working for a lawyer, having access to confidential information and speaking that. So there was a lot of stuff that I went through with our clients that I cannot tell anybody, okay? I can speak generally about those things, but I can't specify who. Okay, but then again, I am a legal. I went to college to be a paralegal, so I am more of a legal professional. He's more of an analyst, and they have different qualifications and requirements because he's probably not used to dealing with a whole bunch of sensitive information, or maybe he is. I don't like professionals coming out and talking about stuff that they had special privileges to, you know. I don't know if this is going to be good for his longevity as this investigator or in this kind of realm, because when people see him going out and speaking about the case, especially when this case is appearing like the person is trying to appeal, and you're putting information that might be exculpatory or inculpatory for that appeal out there to the public, as a journalist, I love this, but I also want to give you guys kind of my, when I put my legal hat on, I can't give you legal advice. I'm not authorized to, nor am I an attorney to provide you legal advice, but I do want you to think kind of out of the box a little bit. If you were a defense attorney and you're hiring somebody for your investigator, and then that person goes on national media and tells everything and discloses everything that was in that thing, maybe NC Taylor said, he's coming after me saying I'm an effective counsel, take him to the mattress, you can do it, because you're not going to lose your license for, it might have been something like that. Nancy Taylor hired this man, so she might have given him the authorization or the green light to do this, to tank Brian, because Brian's coming after her jugular. Might be something like that. I don't know, but it from a legal professional, if this was in my law firm that I worked for, I don't know if we would use this guy again. You see what I'm saying? Not that I as a journalist, I love this information, but for the longevity of these cases and doing cases in the future, I don't know if this is the best advertisement strategy for him. But, in all fairness, he's going to get a job somewhere, because he just put this mass murderer in the middle of a living room when nobody else could. There is that. So it might be, I don't know. I feel like this is a double-edged sword. Like this could go either way, So interesting, definitely interesting information, but I just wanted to put that little caveat on this, because as a legal professional, I don't know how comfortable I would be. I don't know if I would use this guy in my office again. You see what I'm saying? Because of this right here.
The latitude, longitude for.
So let's just back it up a little bit. Oops.
House itself, and if you put the house back on the map and you map.
Oh no, I don't like that. Let's go back. We want to go back.
Certain apps that require location.
Oh wait. Okay, let's.
Samsung was in the living room.
Samsung's also unique that if I do certain things with certain apps that require location data, such as GPS or navigation, that accuracy from the 3,000 or the 5,000 meter ranges come down to 25 meters. And in this particular case, if you look at those precise measurements,
fair enough,
there's probably 5.
But it's not about that, and the case is not over, and that's the problem. People have to understand. The case is not over, and every person knows that the case is not over, because you have XYZ. It's closed, but not over, because there's still deadlines that have to be made, like post-conviction, which he's filing this post-conviction probably under a deadline that he has to file this. If he doesn't file it by XYZ date, he misses it. So yes and no, I do agree with you in part, but everybody knows that this case is not over, and especially now when he's already filing stuff in the court. And he's asking for a new trial. This guy would be tainting that possibility of a new trial, and he's supposed to be a professional in the case. So, I understand that, but still, he's not doing anything unlawful that I'm aware of. I don't know what his license requirements are or his ethical obligations are. Like, I could, if I was a licensed legal assistant, which I'm not, I've got to work for an attorney, which I don't. In the state of Florida, but at the end of the day, I could lose my designation if I violate ethics or confidentiality. We don't know what type of contract he signed with the defense related to his requirements of confidentiality. But for me personally, I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying, from a legal professional, if I worked with this guy in my office and hired him for a job, and then he went up and took our client and smeared him on things we paid him to keep confidential until trial, well, I probably wouldn't use him again in my business, is all I'm saying. I love this information as a journalist, an independent journalist. I hate this information as a legal professional, if that makes sense. I don't think he's doing anything unlawful.
Living room of the house, like the latitude, longitude is the physical house itself. And if you put the house back on the map and you map those, the hits are inside the house.
Wow.
So you're saying, based on the data you saw, the latitude, longitude for Brian Kohberger's Samsung was in the living room?
People have a misconception that when you turn your phone off, it's off. We just hit on this yesterday, Susan. At this day and age, you can track your phone with it off. If you go to find my phone on an Apple phone, when my phone was off and it was stolen out of my car, I could follow it everywhere. I had a whole entire, I sent it over to law enforcement. They wouldn't do shit about it. But at the end of the day, I was able to follow my phone around and it was turned off the entire time. So the only way you can truly, hide your phone is in a Faraday bag or something comparable. That's it. It's this day and age. Like, remember back in the day, we were able to remove our cell phones. Our government has worked with all of these companies, and probably governments around the world have worked with these phone manufacturers to prevent us from to use those as tracking. I think they're specifically used to track us. And I think that they're designed because they sell our data, they sell everything. They sell our movements, they sell where we go, they sell everything that we have, and we allow them to do it. I think we need to start getting a lot stricter and need to make a push that, just because we're using these services doesn't give them the right to data mine us. And I think we need to have some mega restrictions in the data mining aspect of our country. Because we are so reliant on this. We should not have to be or required to give up our freedoms or our privacy to use technology that everybody needs to use just to get through the day. And because I have to use these things, because they're part of my job, now I've installed tracking devices on myself. I think that we've got to do something, and we all need to be mindful of what these people are doing with our information. They're not being sold to companies here like they used to sell us a freaking Kirby vacuum cleaner. Okay? They're being sold to government entities that are coming over here, identifying us, and putting social media stuff in front of us to brainwash us. I mean, this goes far beyond, and you guys are probably saying, Betty, you're starting to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I can tell you that everything I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff here has already been proven. It's not conspiracy theory. And our government is very, very, very well aware of it. I definitely talk about federal and national security items in my political advocacy, so I can tell you that this stuff is already going on right now. Okay? Kind of like the MK Ultra crap. That's what these data mining things are for. They're not once upon a time, these things were used to sell us stuff. It's no longer being used to sell us stuff. It's being used. That's why everybody is freaking out over these data centers, these AI data centers. Everybody is freaking out over these AI flock cameras. So I just do. I don't know.
The AT&T derived latitude longitude from the AT&T's network that it estimates a location, it lands in the house. And it's a 25-meter range. So, we're talking 75 feet. So it could be anywhere in the house on any floor.
Wow.
My personal opinion is when I look at those and I map what's happening before and after, and I'm looking at all the other evidence, I think these are accurate locations. That's an argument.
Wow. His own defense could put him in the house. His own defense could put him in the house. Yes. They also eliminated the law we had in place for almost 100 years to make sure that our media couldn't mind manipulate us. He removed that as well. That's why our media no longer gets sued for misrepresenting information to us. We want the Charlie Kirk Act. We want the Charlie Kirk Act, which prevents our media from mind manipulating us. So why would President Obama end a law that prevents our media from mind manipulating us? We want that put back in. We want it now coined as the Charlie Kirk Act. It was a previous act that Obama dismissed. So I don't know. I don't want to get into a political conversation at this moment. We'll get into that when we have the flock camera conversation. We got flock cameras coming up probably this afternoon or sometime tomorrow afternoon. Oh, excuse me, not tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, Saturday. So probably Sunday afternoon. Yep, you're correct. They don't last long enough, do they? No. Propaganda made it legal to use propaganda. Yeah, that's it. So why would they do that? Why would any president want to allow media to propagate us? He removed he when he was in office, he physically said, I don't want this law anymore that protects the citizens against their own media. Why would any president remove a law like that? I'll put that out there and leave it out there. You guys can gnaw on that. I'll let you guys make your own decision and determination from that. So in Walton County, guys, this is where 43-year-old Jason Colthart lost his life. We got some information on this case, another highly disturbing case. This lady is on the run. We have a manhunt right now. It's a multi-state manhunt. She could still be here in Florida. She could be in Georgia, or she could be in Alabama. She's got a lot of help in those places. She lives in the underbelly of society. She's a beautiful woman, thin. She's 5'3", 120 pounds, soaking wet. So, lot lizard type without the rotten teeth, so she would be prime for using that underground system to move around. And usually that underground system is big rigs and bikers, right? That's how you kind of get around in her lifestyle. I'm just letting you know. How you do it. I'm not saying she has. It's just that the substances that she's on, the way that she looks, I can tell you where she fits, right? And how she can do this. If she's out of the state of Florida, this is most likely how she did it. She probably got on a big rig, or she got with some bikers, and some bikers are moving her at night through their channels. And I'm very familiar with those because I used to hang around a bunch of bikers. So I know how people can get in and get protected very easily. There's a lot of motorcycle clubs out there. There's a lot of motorcycle clubs, right? People sleep at. So there's a lot out there to protect her, from Florida all the way up to Georgia and Alabama. So they're looking for a needle in the haystack. If she's in that kind of a system right now, they're going to be able to keep her pretty low. So we need to try to find her. I don't believe she's living in the woods yet. I still believe that she's got someone. Yeah, someone is helping her. That is what where I'm going with that. I don't believe that this lady is in the woods. I don't believe this is a what was that guy's name? Darnello or whatever. That escaped from prison. So there she is. I'm not going to go through it. We're going to get started on our main topic of conversation. So again, we're circling back to Miss Nancy Guthrie. Miss Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old grandmother, ripped out of the bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman, never to be seen again, after being dropped off late at night by her family member. And again, a lot of scrutiny has come to her family member that dropped her off. And I just want to caution people, because I think a lot of people that point the finger at Tommaso at this very initial juncture, which I understood, because he was at that time was the last person that saw her. But I also want to remind you about your own families, because the things that you're clubbing this family over the head, I'm pretty confident if you go back in the history of your family, there would be times that you can say, oh, I remember when this happened, and I remember that happened. And you find out that these things are not as crazy or unnerving as people have made them, such as Tommaso dropping off his mother-in-law at home at 9:48 at night. And they're like, well, why would they be taking her home? She's a grown-ass woman. She's 84 years old. I don't know. I don't know about your mama, but you try telling your mama what to do. I'm sorry, but that's just kind of ridiculous to actually think that this family did something wrong. I mean, how many times have you been over at a family member's house and decided to stay a little longer than you maybe usually did, or maybe this was customary. Maybe they don't normally take her home until 10 o'clock at night. I mean, Cavalcante, that's it. Yep. Danilo Cavalcante. That's it. We got that on our hands for Isabel right now. But he was out there in the wilderness. He had no help. And he was hard to find. She has help. And again, she looks like a biker chick. She's got the tattoos. She's gorgeous. She's thin. She'll blend right in, and they'll be willing to help her and protect her, because they don't, some of these biker gangs are anti-cop, right? They would never let a cop get hurt unless they're chasing them, right? So, I just know the game. This particular the network she's involved in, I understand very well. So, but just getting back to this, we need to remember that in this very, very specific news, the one clue investigators hope would crack the Nancy Guthrie case. Guys, it fell apart. It was the hair. Okay? The hair that was found in Miss Nancy Guthrie's house was the Hail Mary that I understood at that time. Now, just yesterday, Chris Nanos, now I'm going to tell you, guess when they knew this? Guess when they knew this about the information on the hair? Are you guys ready? Are you sitting down? Everybody sitting down? They knew about this June 30th. We're learning about it July 30th. 30 days later. 30 days later, we are learning about the hair. Why did it take them 30 days to tell us this? This is exactly what I was talking about yesterday when I tell you that when they're bringing this information, they would have had this information a long time ago. Okay? I just went over that with you yesterday, and I'm just now finding out that wasn't... I mean, I say things because I understand how this stuff works, but then today I'm finding out that truly is the fact. That truly is the fact. And this hair did not come back as not matching the suspect. Because that would, and I think that was purposely misinformed and misstated to the public because it would imply that they had a successful testing of the hair. The unfortunate part about this is the hair was inconclusive. It had no root. It was a Hail Mary to even get, possibly some mitochondrial DNA to be tested out of it. There has been a few instances that it has been. There's been a few instances that rootless hair has been processed and did get a match. And so we thought that was what we have here. Oh, thank you, Jules. That's what we had here when we heard that it didn't match the suspect. So I'm like, oh, well, the good news is they were able to get the profile. No, they weren't. It was inconclusive. Did I see Dawn? Hey, Chris. It's nice to see you. Marianne, good morning. In my opinion, the case is a dead end unless she is found. That's why I think it's so important that we look for her. That's the one thing Pima County refuses to do is look for her. They find every excuse. We don't know where she is. We don't know where she went. We don't, she could have been taken thousands of miles from here. Yeah, a lot of those things could be true, but I guess you're never going to find her unless you frickin' look. I mean, that's from the life I'm from, right? You're definitely going to have a zero if you don't look. At least if you look, there's a 50-50 chance. I'm one of these people that like the 50-50 chance. I know if I don't ask a question, it's not going to be asked. We do have a birthday for one of our family members. Don Emery has been with us forever. For forever. And her birthday. We do birthday. We do birthday up here for our family member. We're going to like it. They're going to say I'm racist because I'm using an accent. I'm glad we don't have the hate like we used to. Oh, we got That's why I like the echo. All right, guys, for those that would like to join me for our Don Emery birthday, please do it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Don Emery. Happy birthday to you. It makes I don't have to use so much lung work when I have this because I can say, to you. And it does it for me. Oh, wrong one. There we go. All right, we're back. All right. Happy birthday, Miss Dawn. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. We do that for our family members. Now they come in every day and tell me we're growing so fast. I'm gonna be singing happy birthday. We just need to build it into the show. Build it into the show. We used to do Brando. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Donna Marie. Happy birthday to you. I wish I had this one up, but I forgot to turn my phone on. And we'll have the big one, and that's what kind of messed me up is I forgot to turn the phone on. The phone was dead yesterday. I let it die. And so we had to bring the other phone in so we could get the buttons, and then my buttons, I forgot to plug them in. So if you guys want to know the history of that, we're getting the buttons now. I'm going to be pushing some buttons. So the hair is definitely a major break in the case to find out we had a hair. We were very excited about that hair. But guys, I don't think we understood that this was the biggest lead in this case, and it just failed. Betty, missed my 59th, June 12th. Did you tell me it was your birthday? Sometimes I see them. You got to put them in things. And usually my mods will send me a text if I miss something. I'm sorry, Nina. I am so sorry. Well, on your Bullhorn, but you get 2 birthdays a year. You get your God birthday and you get your BHB birthday. So the search of Nancy Guthrie's mother of NBC show co-host Savannah Guthrie has suffered a setback after a hair found at the home yielded no DNA. It didn't, remember, we were told it didn't match the suspect, right? That's what we were told. Yes, I did tell you. You did tell me. Did I acknowledge in chat? Because sometimes I don't read chat. When did you tell me? Did you tell me in chat? Did I acknowledge it? Or did you send me an email and I just forgot to say something? If you're trying to imply I'm being mean to you for some reason, I think that's a little, I didn't mean to. I don't remember when you were in here saying that it was your birthday. I apologize. There's been some birthdays I missed. But we'll get you. We'll get you. Anyways, getting back to the hair. The hair was a major break in the case that we learned a few months ago. Nancy Guthrie, 84, disappeared from her Tucson home on February 1st. She has not been seen or heard from. Like, tomorrow is going to be literally her 6-month milestone. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos stated that the hair sample sent to a specialist lab in California came back with no DNA. So I don't know why all of the articles were tied yesterday to the suspects. It didn't match the suspect's DNA. There was no match. There was nothing that came back. They did not get a DNA profile off the hair. This is a major setback. Betty might not have seen it in chat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't see chat. And if you don't believe me, ask Lisa B. Always. Ask anybody in here that has put up a super chat that I've missed. I mean, I don't pay it. I mean, my chat is over here. You guys, when you see me looking this way, okay, when I'm looking at you guys I cannot read chat. My chat is on this screen way over here, okay? So I just want to make sure that everybody's very, very clear. When you see me over here talking to you guys and talking, it's because I'm talking to the chat. You guys are over here. When you see me here, I'm reading from my screen. And I can't read from my screen and read the chat over here. I'm sorry, my eyes don't go this way, okay? They go this way. So please have some courtesy and show some grace for your content creators, because we have multiple panels back here that runs this show. Okay, it's not, we're not just these people that turn on the camera and like this is the phone. Okay, I've got major equipment right here. Okay, like this is a studio. Okay, we've got a screen here, we got a screen here, we got a camera up there, we got lights here, buttons here, and my sound system here. That's normally in here. Yeah, the people that are, but Nina's in here a lot, and she's the one that, I mean, she's a coffee club member. So I just want to explain, it's not that when I see it over here, and I didn't even see it. It took people saying happy birthday to her in unison before I finally saw, her name. So just show some grace here. I'm one person. I don't have a team of people behind here producing this show. What you see is what you get, but there's a lot of equipment here that has to be ran to run this show. I do the best I can. Sometimes I fall short. And I find it, anyways, we'll leave it at that. Investigators believe Nancy was taken against her will based on blood found near her home and surveillance footage showing a masked individual near her property. Savannah made a fresh appeal on Instagram using her mother's abductor to do the right thing, urging her mother's abductor to do the right thing and help them locate her. And for the first time, I think when we heard that appeal, we felt for the first time that she was talking specifically to someone. And we said that, and then the news came out that Chris said we have this massive amount of DNA. So if he knew that this DNA, his biggest piece of evidence just fell flat, and he found this out 30 days ago. He had 30 days to prepare how he was going to manipulate the public. And how he chose to manipulate the public was to put out yesterday, or the day before yesterday, an article. He sat down and talked about having more than enough, an over amount. Where is it? I've got it here. It's right here. This is it, right? This is it. Here it is. So what did this seasoned pathological liar criminal sheriff decide over the 30 days to do to manipulate we the people before he released the fact that this hair, the biggest piece of evidence in this case, just fell through the cracks? We have so much DNA to sort through. Okay? This article came out on July 29th. July 29th. On July 30th, Chris sits down with Ford, I believe it is, or maybe he did it with the Sharp Exchange. But he sits down and says that we have all of this, that he's still positive, and that they have so much, listen to this, we have so much DNA to sort through, Nana says. So he says this day one. Now he has the results that his biggest lead in this investigation has just fallen through the cracks. At least the biggest lead he's told us just fell through the cracks. But the day before he tells us that this DNA just fell through the cracks, he sends out an article and starts doing press releases to get this statement out there the day before he drops the hammer. We have so much DNA to sort through. Then the next day, what does it say? What does all the articles say? Because we are being manipulated by mainstream media that's in the pocket, the local media that's in the pocket of Chris Nanos. What was the article's title? Suspect hair did not match suspect. So it implied, our corrupted media out there implied that there was a result back to this hair. Back to this hair. And now we're finding out, no, there were no results. This hair didn't have a hit. This does not come back to any specific person. They don't know where this hair came from, and they don't know who it belongs to. That is the truth about it. It did not come back to the suspect. There was no profile that was had from that hair. So that means that biggest piece of evidence just fell through the crack. And he went on a campaign the day before he was releasing that information to manipulate everybody and saying we have so much DNA. I don't know if that's true. Because he's made it very, very clear we only had DNA on the glove, which came back to a restaurant worker, and that restaurant worker had nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping. Then we had the mixture. Now we're finding out the mixture is more than 4 people. It's going to be next to impossible to ever separate it. And then we had the hair, the Hail Mary, the hair. And now we're finding out the hair had inconclusive results. And before we found out all of that information, Chris made sure that we all knew the day before this stuff broke that we have so much DNA to go through. I don't believe it. I believe this was a way he was going to work through the backlash of finding out that hair has no DNA to it. And we didn't get that information from their local media. We had to wait until national media, CBS, got to ask him the right questions and put it out there, put out the truth to us that no, it's not that the sample came back and it doesn't match the suspect. It's the fact that it's inconclusive and we never got a result back. That's the reality of the hair. So the biggest critical piece of evidence that we have in the Nancy Guthrie case is dead. DOA, dead on arrival. So do we have, because we've asked Chris Nanos this whole time, and he's made sure he's let us know DNA is very limited at that crime scene. And he gave us 3 spots where we had DNA, and only those 3 spots. Now, I've always cautioned my audience, that what they tell us is never what's reality. They only give us bare bones. So if they're telling us this, there's got to be more. Nanos botched this case, plain and simple. I agree with you, Rhonda. Savannah called Democrat U.S. Attorney Senator Mark Kelly. He took donuts to Sheriff Nanos, and the rest is history. Yeah, but I believe Mark Kelly was trying to help Savannah. Chris Nanos, his leadership on this case has not been a help to her. Mark Kelly tried to help and probably tried to go in there with kitten gloves. That's why whenever you go in there for diplomatic purposes, you always bring a little treat, right? You always bring a little treat. I bring either lunch, or I bring pastries, or I bring why can't I say bagels? I very rarely do donuts because when you have a private citizen or a journalist going into a police station with donuts, I find it offensive. Maybe it's my own. So I would prefer buying them, pizza or bagels with cream cheese. I don't know. Coffee's always a must, but I feel like it's, like I'm going in there and it's like, oh yeah, this biatch brought us donuts. What's she trying to say, So I try to be respectful, right? I try not to be that person that goes into a sheriff's department with freaking donuts. I don't know. I'll take cake. But I don't know. Bringing donuts to the cop. Exactly. Like, I feel like they're ready to like, give me the stink eye or something, right? And then you bring the bagels and it's like, well, where the hell's the donuts? I'm just saying. I don't know. Let's turn that down just a little bit. Let's turn that down just a little bit. All right. Well, thank you, Jenny. Welcome. In just a few minutes, you'll be able to chat. And if you guys are new to this channel, make sure you subscribe because we set chat limits on here. That means you have to be a subscriber for XYZ time before you can comment. And usually by the time people sign up, I have porridge. Did you say, is that porridge? Lots of fiber. I've never had porridge before. What's in porridge? Like, I've had stews. Is it like another name for stew? In my opinion, it wasn't a diplomatic visit. It was more of a visit for a friend. Does Kelly go to every department that has a... Of course not. He's not going to... Savannah's... no matter how we look at this, Savannah's going to be a different animal. She's well known. She has a lot of friends in a lot of different places. She's interviewed presidents, princes. She's got, in this world, people that are prestigious or higher up on the food chain gets different privileges than the rest of us. We all know that, okay? Whether it's fair, whether you agree with it or not, it happens. This was a resource she had available for her. She knew Mark Kelly personally. And if you know somebody personally, you're going to call that person if they can help you, right? We don't know Mark Kelly personally. He's not our friend, okay? But if he was your friend, I guarantee if you had a missing person in that state, you're going to call your friend and see if they can help you, right? So when you're higher up on the food chain, you have more powerful friends, like, right? Our friends probably aren't higher up on the food chain, right? So our friends, we would call our friends if we needed help, right? It's just our friends don't have the resources that her friends have. So we have to look at it like that. Does he visit every? Of course not. But not every missing person is a friend of his, or a you know what I'm saying? So there has to be some, but would your friends, if you called your friends, would your friends show up? The answer is yes. She called her friend showed up. So what would be the difference? I mean, yet he comes with power, right? But if your friend went up to the office with donuts to find out what was going on, would you think anything of it? Of course not. So you got to look at it. We look at it through different lenses, but it's because we're looking at Mark Kelly as a senator. We're not looking at Mark Kelly as a friend. And whenever you look at Mark Kelly as a friend, would that be a friend that you would call if you were jammed up? And the answer is yes. I just like to present stuff. I'm not a Mark Kelly fan. I'm not a Chris Nanos fan. I'm not trying to give them a way out or anything. I just like to put things into realistic perspective for everybody, because it's so easy to look at things especially if you don't like somebody, it's very easy to look in a negative light. But I have to walk these things through because we're dealing with a real life case, not me on one of my soapboxes, right? So I've got to I have to check my stuff at the door, even with these people. Does this, I play the tape through. Would this be normal? And who is Mark Kelly to her? And, you got to kind of really step back and look at that. And when you put it down as he's a friend of hers, and then you look at it like that, well, we all call our friends when we're jammed up. So I just like to put it into a realistic perspective, and your guys are going to be mad at the person regardless. So there's nothing I'm going to say. If you don't like her, you don't like her. Again, I'm not a Savannah Guthrie fan. That's not why I'm covering this case. I'm covering this case because this is a case that defies logic. This case has a lot of twists and turns to it. It captures our attention, and even though we have fatigue of this case, we're still on pins and needles just to find out what happened to Miss Nancy Guthrie, because the case is so crazy, right? And that's really what, in my opinion, is keeping us here in this case, is that we're so invested in who it is, who's right in this. Like, we have a whole true crime clique out there that believes Tommaso is this murderer. And there's a few other people that believe it's somebody like Carlos and Luke and stuff like that. So, who's right in this case? And we're all sitting here just trying to figure out, when are we going to know what happened to Miss Nancy Guthrie? I think we're all to the acceptance that I don't care if the sheriff is or not. I can't help that bozo. But I think for the majority of our audience, though, I truly do believe that we've all come to acceptance that Miss Nancy Guthrie's is gone. Like, she's with our Lord, she's dead, like gone. Like, she's a little frail, little 84-year-old lady that needs medication to live, and she doesn't have her medication to live. So I really do believe that we have a situation where Miss Nancy Guthrie is truly deceased. And I think that we've all come to accept that. And so we're not here. We're not all invested into this case because we're trying to find out whether she's dead or alive. I think the majority of us, a good sizable majority of the true crime genre on this case, believes that she's deceased. I believe she's deceased. There is some people that are holding out hope, but they acknowledge that it's just hope. That in the back of their mind, they truly do believe she may be gone, but because we don't have a body, we don't have, any crime scene other than the one where people believe she left alive. So it's a little more difficult for a few people, but I will tell you, there is a super majority of people that believe she's gone. Okay, it is a super minority of the people that still believe there's hope and she's alive. Okay, it's a very small percentage on that side. So I don't think that that's why we're here. We're not here to find out whether she's dead or alive. We're here to find out what happened to her and who's responsible, because this case has made no sense from the very beginning. We spent entirely too long analyzing ransom notes and not looking at other critical factors. Now we're behind the eight ball. And now we're going back to the beginning to look. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that the answers that we're looking for are going to be had for January 11th. January 11th, in my opinion, is the most important time of this case, because we have to explain January 11th. And so many people want to say, well, he must have been there to jimmy the locks, to break the locks, to, set it up so he could come back and steal her. And that's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of that. And I would normally agree with you, but people that do stuff like that are anticipating coming back almost immediately, like later that night or the next morning or the next night. They're not going to do those preparations and then wait 3 weeks to come back to the house. So that tells me, in my mind, my common sense, my problem-solving skills are telling me he was not there to prepare the home to break in to take her out. There was another reason why he was there. I believe, and I've told you this, and I'm probably beating a dead horse for my main audience members, but I believe he made it inside the house. I believe that was the botched burglary. This botched burglary that they're talking about, I don't believe happened on February 1st. I believe happened on January 11th. Now, one thing I did notice, and I said this last night, but there wasn't a lot of people in our show last night because it was going on with Chris McDonough's show and Jonathan Lee Rich's show. They pull in a lot of true crime audience, and I'm, my channel's much smaller than there by hundreds of thousands of viewers. So we don't get really good viewership or good advertisements or notifications during that late night, but I do like it. I like it a little bit better to close out the day, in all fairness. So I'll roll with 100 people in the chat. It's fine for me. I don't really care. It's about the information, not the people, and we get the information out there, so that's a good thing. But I had said last night that what all did I say last night? We learned last night about the hair. We learned that, and we were told that this was the suspects, that it didn't match the suspect. We weren't told it was inconclusive. We learned that today that this stuff was known to the sheriff's office over a month ago, and we're just now hearing about it. And then I look back on this right here that came out the day before they decided to break that their biggest lead and DNA. And I believe this was an effort just to distract us away from the fact that we lost the biggest piece of evidence in this case. It makes me feel that we're getting screwed and hosed on the forensic front, but you guys know how I feel. I believe they did a piss poor forensic investigation. So we're going to find out how bad this truly is. But where was I going with what I was doing last night? There was another point I was trying to make from last night, some of the conversations we had last night, and I think I may have lost my track, my thought process. So we'll circle back to it. It will pop back up as we go through this, because important information never leaves my mind. So DNA could not be profiled. So now we're learning late. Look at this, when it started coming in late. We started learning. So when we ran our story, we realized that we have a hair and the hair did not match the suspect. That's what we were told. Now by late evening, more clarification on the swatch came back, and people were like, well, who did it belong to? They're asking Chris Nanos, please explain to me who did it belong to. And he's probably saying now, well, there were no results. It was inconclusive. So all this headline about it not matching a subject is not accurate. It's manipulated. I mean, it is accurate. It doesn't match the suspect, and it's not matching anybody else because they never got a match. They never got a profile. It was inconclusive. So it was misrepresenting. It was misinformed and intentionally by the way that the title was. And there you go and that's the best explanation of what I can say about your local media and your government out there. They're as corrupted. They don't ask the right questions, and I guarantee The local media knew that that this was inconclusive, but they chose to manipulate the story to give it the best possible spin for their readers. That is malpractice. Shame on the people that were peddling that crap yesterday.
I think what we've found at the scene is what we're working with. And of course, like you say, the gloves and other things come up. I think
this is an older interview.
So we process the scene, and you have all this evidence that's DNA.
At least I think it is.
Some of it may be actual physical evidence, cameras, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think we've heard this one before.
You find a hair. Well, that's hair analysis, right? And that can maybe make a match through hair analysis. But we know, the labs know that DNA from a hair is pretty rare. I don't have the numbers. I think they said less than 20% chance.
So he's giving excuses. This is a new interview. So he's giving excuses about this. He's not really wanting to say, he's like, the hair really was. But see, when we had the hair, he never even wanted to tell us about the hair. Remember that? We found out because they had to transfer it to Quantico. That's how we learned about it.
And so you have to now weigh in. If I take this piece of evidence, do I use all of that evidence to take a chance at 20% chance of DNA? Just as you would sit there and say, this one has a 20% chance, but here's where the bigger pieces are. You prioritize your evidence and the testing of it. So yes, there was.
So did he just admit that we have more DNA specifically inside the house than what he's told us in the past? My mama, My mama used to say, jackass is too stupid to eat his own way out of a wet paper bag. Are you speaking about nanos, bananos? So again, he just released on the 29th that they had this large swath of DNA. This is the first time we heard of any other DNA than the glove, the mixture, and the hair. Is this just a way? Does he know now that he should have told us that there was a lot more DNA at the crime scene than he tried to play off? I don't know. Is this all a lie? We don't know. He's a pathological liar. We know nothing. And we can't ask him, nor will he answer our questions.
Hair we had, and thought, okay, we'll do the DNA first, right? You're going to do DNA before something else.
I didn't turn it up.
But it was at the bottom. FBI says, hey, we know of a lab I think it's in San Francisco, but a lab in California who could look at that for you and maybe take care of the DNA. No problem. Give it to them. It came back, none. There's no DNA. But does that mean the hair?
There's no DNA. Okay, so now let's listen.
Isn't that of the suspect? We won't know the DNA.
Okay.
But does that mean the hair isn't that of the suspect? We won't know that till we have the suspect's hair.
So they're going to keep it. They're going to keep it and try to match it on the back end. But he keeps talking about the suspect. If you know, in our news, they're talking about suspects, but every time you talk to Chris Nanos, he's talking about a suspect. Singular. And he went so far yesterday or the day before to say there is no evidence of a second assailant. And that has been my statement for a while, as I felt like they were rushing the gun and jumping the gun by saying there was a second assailant. So I went back and did some, took some hours out of my time to investigate the second subject. And that's what kind of brought about, some of the conversation pieces or talking points we had over the last few days, because I'm not sure. Let me just get back to this. We'll get back to that. I'm not ready for that yet.
Just destroy it, right? So there's other things that hair may prove valuable for, but right now it was just about
I just don't. When it comes to this DNA is upsetting to me because we don't know of any other DNA in that house. We only knew of 3 things, and we're just now learning that the DNA mixture is of more than 4 people or 5 people, and that makes it next to impossible to separate. Okay, I just want to let you know that DNA. So everything that Chris Nanos has told us, the 3 spots of DNA, the glove, the mixture, and the hair, is all gone. Those are the things that we, the people, that the public, have been holding on to hope that there would be results from those 3 things. Does Nanos have dementia? I don't know. None of us will. Why wouldn't they use predator? Why wouldn't they use perpetrator instead? I don't know. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the evidence is gone. The evidence that we learned about at the beginning of this case. I want to make sure that we understand that. All of the evidence that we learned, that we the public knew about. Okay? The glove, the mixture, and the hair. Those are the 3 pieces of DNA. Does anybody know of any other DNA besides those things that have been talked about from the beginning of the case by law enforcement? Not speculated online, but by law enforcement. Is that accurate? Can a few of you guys agree with that? Those are the 3 things that we've learned from law enforcement related to the DNA. The glove. We knew we had 16 gloves, but they were very specific about a glove that looked like the assailant's that was near the house. So you guys remember that? So we had the glove, then we learned about the mixture, and then it wasn't until 2 months later we learned about the hair, and then Chris Nanos had to come back and say, oh no, we picked up the hair on the day that we did the investigation. We've had that in our possession, custody, and control since the initial investigation. So, yeah. Those are the ones that we knew about from the beginning of the case. Now, all 3 of those that we've known about from the beginning of the case, those being the only 3 that we knew about, those are all gone. They don't exist anymore, okay? We are never going to be able to separate 5 profiles from a DNA. It's almost next to impossible. It's impossible at this point with our technology. Impossible. That means we're never going to get that profile separated. Or if it is, it's going to be years later. 5 profiles, 4 to 5 profiles, impossible, according to CC, which is the expert, the gold standard of IgG. She does a lot of stuff with IgG. What is her name? CC Moore? Is it CC Moore? Something like that. Very, very high up in the IgG world. She's very, very good at her job. She's the one that uses the S&P profiles and builds a family tree and finds out who the person is. Very, 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 very good. But CC Moore told us that 2 is easy to split, 3 is more complicated, 4 is getting to impossible. More than 4, you're never going to separate them. That's her words. That's her words, not mine. So if we're having 4 or more, you're looking at next to impossible to separate. So we had the glove. That was the first one that went away because it was the restaurant worker, had nothing to do with the case. Then we had the mixture, which we now know is 4 to 5 profiles. That's never going to be that's not going to provide us any results. And then we knew of the hair, which we just found out was inconclusive. This whole case just, in the public's eye, this whole case just fell apart forensically. I don't think that we understand that. And that's what brings this article on the 29th. This is what pisses me off about this article, because now, before all of this detrimental information came out to us, he goes on a campaign to manipulate us into believing that there may be more DNA in that house, even though he has for 6 months told us, very limited DNA, here's our DNA. All of those are gone, and now he's sending this out before he tells us that. So which is true? Which is true? I would like media to hone in on him, and I want you to lean in on him to find out, is there any legitimate path forward for DNA? Is there other areas of DNA than the 3 areas that he told us? Somebody needs to get some balls and backbones and ask this man the question. If he's willing to tell us this, and he's willing to tell us that the hair was inconclusive, Maybe he'd be willing to tell us, yes, we do have more DNA to process from inside the home. This here is vague. What does that mean? We have so much DNA to sort through. Inside the house, outside the house, at Annie's house, in the car. What are you referring to? What are you referring to? One day technology will get there. One day technology. Well, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they're working around the clock to develop more technology to separate, So I don't know how that was all done. Obviously, I'm not a rocket scientist or DNA expert, so I'm just a chick with a freaking microphone and a camera, okay, at this point when it comes to medical crap. I know how to transfer people. I know how to do things like CNA, LPN type work, but other than that, I don't know nothing about, science. Right? I'm not a science junkie. Okay, there probably are some people in our chat that probably are a little more science junkie. I know, like Robin and her family are a little more science and medical junkie type people. Well, why isn't the rapidly testing it all? I don't know. Why didn't they use? I know. The dogs, like, what the? They never even allowed the cadaver dogs in. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why. He convinced himself that wouldn't work. In when you have a case like this, you put whether like even the planes, the helicopters going up. Do you know the helicopters and those sensors, those heat sensor, thermal sensor drones and helicopters and stuff? Do you know they're only 5% effective? 5% effective. That means only 5% of the times that they go up there to search for people do they actually find the person. 5%. Very, very low, isn't it? It seems like it's hardly even worth putting a helicopter with thermal imaging or thermal sensors up there in the sky. Why? Why waste the tens of thousands of dollars in jet fuel for no results? Right? Why? Why bother even putting it up there for all of this money with zero results? 5%. Yet every time somebody goes missing, what do? The helicopters and fixed wing aircrafts go up into the sky. Every damn time, do they not? Every time they go up in the sky. And they only have a 5% success rate. But it's still a 5% success rate. That means those tools have located people before. And so if there's that slim chance that they can locate somebody, even 5%, they're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars for that 5%. And that's what we want. So, and the reason why I'm giving you this long-winded story is because Chris Nanos did not bring in the dogs, right? Chris Nanos didn't think that they were worth it, that they would help find. It doesn't matter whether you think they are. If there's a 0.0002% chance that they can find the person or to identify whether they're even living or not, I would take that. I would take that. That's what we're hearing, YouTuber. The list of missed opportunities in this case from this criminal sheriff's department and his leadership, the list is getting longer and longer. The list is getting longer and longer. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They didn't search. Can you imagine being missing and your own law enforcement not searching for you? I just don't believe it. And, like, I'm not worried about me, because if I go missing, I know I have all of you guys. You guys would never even allow my sheriff to freaking sleep. He would be, and not only that, but these people know me. So I feel like that a whole bunch of people would come together to find me. But even with all the resources Miss Guthrie has and her family has, they never even searched for her. Like, search for me. Check with my neighbors first. Check in their backyards. I'm just joking. My neighbors love me. How dare you? How dare you? And Quentin had drones, helicopters the day he went missing. Yep. We had agents climbing through my barn, woods. It was a lot. It was a lot. I took my dogs looking for Quentin. I knew he didn't leave because I knew where he went. We knew he career. And you know what was really creepy in the Quentin Simon case? This is the creepiest of this case. I've never seen a ghost before. I saw a ghost in that case. I saw him literally run from his house over to his babysitter across the street. And listen to this. I wasn't the only one that saw it. And I've got it recorded. I've got it recorded. A little 2-foot little boy image running. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Running. Go look it up. It's my image. Go look up Quentin Simon ghost. Quentin Simon ghost. You'll see him running behind me. It was a ghost. And he ran from his house where he was murdered at over to his neighbor's house where he felt the most safe. He always ran. But we saw that, and I didn't believe it. And I'm like, because everybody's like, there was a ghost behind you, Betty. I'm like, and I remember Dolly saying there was a ghost. I'm like, I don't believe it. I said, go back to the original footage. I said, I don't believe a damn thing anybody says. And that's exactly what I said. I said, go back to my original footage. I said, the only way I'm going to believe that there was a ghost behind me is if I see it in my own live. And sure enough, we found it. And sure enough, it was in my live. That was not fake. The person that posted Quentin Simon's ghost, that was the image from my live. They did not doctor it. I went back to the original live, and it is there. It is absolutely there. We saw a ghost. It is official, and nobody is going to convince me otherwise, because you could see the hands, the knees, you could see the height of this boy. Everything matched Quentin Simon. Everything. Oh, I gotta quit talking. I get goosebumps all over my body. This is freaking me out. Okay, we're done. We're done with that conversation. So let's go back here. Top viewers treat a major host shakeup plus one unplanned absence. So we've got some things going on in NBC. Now, this is kind of, we've already talked about Miss Nancy Guthrie. We're going to probably go back, like spin back around to Nancy Guthrie. But we've had kind of two stories going on here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. One is the Nancy Guthrie's case. And the other one is this dispute that Savannah Guthrie is having with NBC. And what I believe drew her back to NBC only 2 months after her mother's disappearance, predominantly against her will. So Savannah Guthrie is a contracted employee. Okay, that means she has a contract that basically outlines what her and NBC are required to do for each other for this show, right? So she's a contracted employee. She is one of the highest paid employees on the Today Show, and she had vocal surgery last year, 2025, December 2025. We don't know specifically the date, but we know that she had some polyps and other things on her vocal cords, which was making it very difficult for her to speak. And the ratings shot through the roof when she was gone. So that was the first time that she had taken time off work, and her ratings went through the roof, on that show. So that tells us that she was in fear of losing her job. And so she had her doctor, get her to the point where she could go back to work, and basically made her give her the release to go back to work because she was so concerned about her job. And within days of going back to work, her mother disappears. And then after that, we started seeing these NBC be really kind of horrible to her when she came back. It didn't seem like that at first. But then you started hearing them. We started getting all this stuff from people leaking it out that NBC was trying to pressure her to take a break, and she wouldn't take a break. So they ended up releasing the stuff that her mom might be dead just to push her over the edge. That didn't work. Then they started having her do stories on her show about people also being lost and being found and saved, knowing her mother was dead, those unreasonably cruel type of things to her, and then not informing her the next day that they were wearing yellow, embarrassing her in the public on a public newscast related to her mother and her failing to wear yellow. So all of these things were done specifically by NBC to make this lady mentally have a break, which is disgusting to me. And shame on anybody that supports this disgusting organization. I will not support NBC. I've never supported NBC. And I would challenge people not to support NBC. Who does that to an employee? Contracted employee or otherwise? Who does that? That is evil. That is more than evil. Was the video called Simon's Ghost? I think it was Quentin's Ghost. I want to see it, like Quentin Simon's Ghost. I can't remember how. Just put Quentin Simon, ghost video or something like that. I think you might be able to find it that way. So we were going through this, and I started telling you guys that it looks like NBC is really trying to pressure Miss Guthrie. And then the final straw that finally broke her to take a break was the intruders on set with their heightened security, which I still believe was set up. And this is the reason, because of all these things happening at NBC, I truly believe that they could be, somebody at NBC could be responsible for the disappearance of Miss Nancy Guthrie. That's because of all this. I truly believe that somebody is capable at NBC to set all of this up to have it done. I absolutely believe it. Now, did that happen? Probably not. But because of this dynamic, I had to develop a third theory. And I call it the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding theory, because of all of this dynamic going on behind NBC. I think NBC is evil. I want to make sure I'm very clear on here, because I want to make sure NBC, which doesn't use me for their, and from this point forward, it's kind of twisted when they didn't invite me on the Idaho 4 doc. Like they got a hold of Olivia, but because I don't like mainstream media, they cut me out of it. So because I'm so polarizing, and I, Front Row Joe, and affiliated with the Trump organization, not affiliated, but I got tentacles through it, and so they don't want me on their show. Well, NBC, at least I'm not evil. Like, I think you are a fucking evil organization. So I just want to make sure you know. I have to hop off now. I hope everybody has a blessed day. Remember, show some love. Thank you. Well, we love you. Go enjoy your class. Go enjoy your class. However, after that, we found out Al Roker and Craig Melvin took time off after that intruder. I think that was the straw that broke the camel. I think they knew what they did, what NBC did. I think NBC, because even the charges for these guys that broke in on set were so low that they're going to get a slap on the wrist. So that tells me that they could have paid somebody, a few $1,000s, be willing to, get a slap on the wrist in the courts. You know what I'm saying? So I think this was set up. I think even the intruder, somebody in NBC set that up. I truly believe that. And nobody's going to convince me otherwise, unless anything short of actual physical evidence. So, however, the morning of Wednesday, July 29th, for the second day in a row, a majority of the regular hosts were missing from their usual spot. So they're attacking Savannah. I think her loyal co-hosts are, taking a knee, potentially, for her. So we'll find out. But it says the usual lineup is this, that's what their usual lineup looks like. On the main 7 to 9 hour seating, usually filled by Savannah and Craig, instead were occupied by Chanel Jones and NBC senior Washington correspondent Haley Jackson. So their entire show is falling apart right now because of this stuff. And I think Melvin Craig as well as Al are probably pretty pissed off that their organization is doing this to Savannah Guthrie. In the most difficult time. And when you're a person that's sitting on a stage with somebody, and you're seeing your company do this to one of the most beloved hosts on that show, you realize what they would be willing to do to you. And it's hard for people that have common sense, dignity, or any type of character or class not to have something to say about that. You're watching them destroy this lady when she's missing her mom, ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman. One of the largest news stories taking center stage on mainstream media and social media, and you're trying to be unreasonably cruel to her for ratings? I hope the world really shows and makes NBC feel what they should feel. I think everybody should boycott NBC until they apologize publicly for what they did to Savannah. I am not a Savannah fan, but I do the right thing every time because it's the right thing to do. Not because it's easy, not because I like to, because it's the right thing. And we do the right thing even no matter what. And what Savannah has gone through at the hands of her own company is disgusting. They want the whole world to believe that they're supporting and standing by Savannah Guthrie, and they are not. And we started reporting on that a few weeks ago when we started seeing the turn. And we did. And we did. So now we know we may not have any DNA inside that home. Unfortunately, that's what we may be learning today, is that there may not be any DNA that's going to link back to this subject. We don't know. You know, he did do a report before this devastating news hit the news cycle saying we have so much DNA. Well, you haven't been saying that for 6 blessed months, but right before the most devastating news in this case happens, then you tell us we have so much DNA, we're still processing it. I don't believe it. I believe that was a way to soften the blow and distract people from the news as it is. We've got no DNA, potentially. A significant development has emerged in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie. On Thursday, July 30th, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, who oversees the investigation alongside the FBI, spoke at length about forensic evidence collected near the Guthrie, Tucson, Arizona home, where she was abducted in the early hours of February 1st, 2026. Nanos revealed that the hair sample recovered from the scene underwent forensic testing, but returned inconclusive results. So the statement that the sample did not match the suspect is a false statement, because there's no proof that this does not belong to the suspect, but there is no DNA to be had from the sample. It came back with no results. The Sheriff's Department confirmed the findings were verified in early June. Okay? So it took us over a month. So we had a month to figure out how he was going to present this to the public. And how did he decide to present this to the public? By releasing the day before, we have all this DNA! And we're, oh, yay, we got more DNA than we thought we did. Yay, right? Yay. And then the next day we come back and we're like, oh, well, the hair doesn't match the suspect. So who does it match? There's no determination whether it could match the suspect because it's inconclusive. So the whole news cycle we've had over the last 2 days has been manipulated and false. From mainstream media to local media, and then of course we get that from them, and we're spreading around it to you, and then I've got to go back and piece all this shit together and realize we were duped once again by Pima County Sheriff's Department. Duped! Intentionally! So he's had these findings since June, but this comes back to my statement that I said yesterday when I said, look, they're not releasing this stuff as they're getting it. They've had this information for a while. And they're just now getting around to releasing it to us. So now, and I even told you, so now we need to go back and look at Savannah a month ago. to see what her behavior was a month ago. And then lo and behold, I come across this stuff today, and it's like, well, there you go. Proof's in the pudding. Proof's in the pudding. If you guys want the truth, don't be going to mainstream media. Come to Bullhorn Betty. We go through all this stuff. We'll tell you the truth. We'll break it down, and we'll throw people under the bus for lying to you. Because they lie to me. I don't like being lied to. 2 things that you don't want to do to Bullhorn Betty is lie to me or steal from me. Anything else I can pretty much work through, right? But you lie to me or you steal from me, all I can tell you is I make a better friend than I do an enemy. Don't know what to say. But the sheriff knew this early June, and we're just learning about it at the end of July. Early June, end of July. That means it's been almost 60 days. They've known this for almost 60 days. What the? They've had this information for 60 days. They had every opportunity to figure out how to present it to us, and they chose to lie to us and deceive us once again. And it took them almost 60 days to figure out how they were going to do it. So what strategy? I look at strategy all the time. You want to know why I strategize so much? Because I look at people's strategy. I develop people, I look at strategies. I develop my own strategies. And not just here, politically too. So now we know that they've had these results, these inconclusive results for almost 60 days now, early June. We're at August. And he's had these since early June. We can go back and look at all the bullshit he's fed us. He's force-fed us in the whole month of June. So there we have it. With the hair sample yielding no leads, investigators are now focusing on the mixed DNA sample that has 5 DNAs that C.C. Moore told us is impossible to separate. We're fucked. Excuse my language. I didn't mean for that to fall out. I really didn't mean for that to fall out. That did just fall out. According to Nanos, the sample contained genetic material from as many as 4 individuals. That's going to be next to impossible. We need to go back to C.C. Moore. Maybe the 4 might be what she said it would take it up to a year to separate. I'm hoping that's what she said. But they said as many as 4. So that might be more positive. As many as 4. That might be a little more positive. Because as many as 4, it could be as many as 3. And if we're in 3, we're in that we might be able to pull something out of this mixture. But it still has to go back, Thank you, Riley Rue. Thank you, Riley Rue. We appreciate you. Press F. He gets an F. Is that why you did it? Yeah. I agree. Oh, we got more. Everybody's giving Chris Nanos an F. Everybody's giving Chris Nanos an F. You get an F. You get an F. And you get an F. This is not good. So when I was really kind of woo-hoo-hoo last night, like, oh my gosh, maybe we are breaking. And then when I started digesting all of this and what does it mean, I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't good. This isn't good at all. This is bad. Why do I think this was good? And so I started going back and looking at the manipulation and the strategy that they used to present this horrible news. It was very effective for a good 24 hours. But now, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this ain't good. This is not good news. Like, I'm thinking, okay, we're getting somewhere. It didn't come back to the suspect. No, it's inconclusive. We lost the biggest piece of physical evidence, forensic evidence in this case. We've lost the glove. The glove didn't come back to anybody. The hair is inconclusive. We don't even know whose hair it is. Are we sure it's not Nancy's? What color is it? Is it telling us, listen, follicles of the hair, not even the root, just the hair shaft, like just the hair itself, the way that the hair is made up and developed, they can tell whether it's a white person, if it's a black person, if it's a mongoloid hair, if it's I don't know what white people are. I know mongoloid, and there's other kinds of, let's find mongoloid. Let me see here. Different types of hair like mongoloid. Okay, so we have the Leotrichus. No. like Mongolian. No, this is not it. I'll have to find it. But they break down these the hair types, and you can tell whether it is sometimes from the hair, the way it looks under a magnifying glass. It's different. The insides of that hair are different sometimes from a white person, Asian person, Hispanic person, and black person. Your hair, your actual makeup of the hair itself is different. Like our hair is not all made up the same way. Like somebody's hair is usually thicker, and some people, like my hair is the actual strands of my hair. If you take my hair strand and you put it up to my friend Pam, which is an Italian, the actual single hair, her single hair is very, very thick, being an Italian hair. My hair being predominantly Irish and Scottish is very thin. The actual hair strand itself is very thin. When I take a single hair strand and put it up to Pam's hair strand, her hair strand is much thicker. The density, yes, density. And Mongolian hair is wired, thick scaled. Exactly. So there's several different things. So I'm wondering if they might be able to at least find out what nationality that hair may have come off of. That might be a little, something. It may not be, but maybe the hair, even without the root, is still useful for something, even without the subject. Like once they find out who the suspect is, and Chris Nanos keeps saying suspect, he's not referring to this individual as individuals. Okay. And I think that's important because he's the investigative body. He's the lead investigator on this case, and he's not referring to multiple subjects. He's only referring to one. It makes me wonder, we are 6 months in, would they know whether this person acted alone or in concert with somebody? It's possible. We don't know what they have. So I really don't know. But getting back to this, the whole thing with Savannah Guthrie, we know that she's gone through the ringers. It sounds like there's some type of shakeup on the Today Show. And I think it's because of NBC's behavior, in all fairness. I really do. I feel like it's NBC's behavior. And again, we're having the conversation over the DNA and the hair that is at the house. My understanding, there's at least 5, maybe 6 labs across the country that are working on this. Nanos added the blood and other DNA were also found added that blood and other DNA were also found at the scene through those samples, though those samples have not produced results so far. A DNA sample initially sent to a private laboratory in Florida was later forwarded to the FBI crime lab in Quantico, but officials have not confirmed whether that sample was the same hair specimen. So now we're in a different conversation. We don't know if there was multiple hairs, because I've been telling you this. They've been really trying to confuse us and keep us off of our game and not understanding this. And Chris Nanos is a confusing old goat. I don't like him. I just don't like him. We have a lot of DNA that is being looked at by credible scientists around the country. But DNA is DNA, so I don't understand how extraction DNA is the same from company to company. So where are they finding this DNA? How difficult is it on? Did they take the weeds and they're trying to figure out how to take the DNA off of a leaf? I mean, what are we dealing with here? Because we've been told for 6 months we've had 3 areas of DNA: a glove, a mixture, and a hair without a root. That is all we've known about. That's all we've been told. Now we are cognizant enough and we understand that law enforcement's not giving us their entire case on a golden platter, right? So I don't anticipate us knowing everything, but knowing that we have a good amount of DNA or a limited amount of DNA is very concerning, because we've been told for 6 months that we've had a limited amount of DNA inside that home that can be tested. That's what we've been told for months. And now that we're getting the worst news, breaking news about the hair being inconclusive that we can get, one of the 3, this means leaving us only one option on one path forward, a mixture of more than 5 or possibly up to 5 potentially, mixtures, making it next to impossible to separate. That's leaving us with that as the only evidence that we know of, forensic evidence that we know of. And right before they give us this letdown, they tell us that they have a lot of DNA to work with. Where did that DNA come from? And I think that's manipulative because they may have DNA everywhere. They may have picked up rocks on the outside 2 miles down from her road that still need to be tested. That's not from her house, and that's not DNA that we are confident could result in a positive suspect. It's something that's a Hail Mary out there. So where is this large amount of DNA coming from? Is it coming from her home? And since he can't tell us where it is, how do we know it's not Miss Nancy Guthrie's and hers alone? Have they at least eliminated her as being the contributor? We've got a lot of questions with this DNA. A lot of questions. And I told you guys this morning that we would go back over this Sharp exchange, and we're going to continue to go over this Sharp exchange, but we just went over our 2-hour time mark. And I don't want to overcomplicate this show because we did talk about 2 major factors. We talked about our DNA pretty much being diminished to next to nothing. And this is not a good story. You know, they put a very, very positive spin on all this information yesterday. But when you start taking it and just really processing the information and setting it down and realizing what it truly means, it was not good. We just lost some of the major evidence that we were relying on to point to the suspect. It's gone. It's inconclusive. There's no scientific DNA that's going to point to the assailant. Now, when they find the guy, they can say the hair is consistent with his, but so what? So what? It still could be anybody else's. It still could be anybody else's. Just because it's consistent doesn't mean squat. Did they get a hair, at least a blood type out of the follicle, or there was no follicle, the shaft? Could they get a blood type out of it? Could they at least know that the person is type A or O positive or, you know, whatever? He FedExed the sample, so he lost. No, they didn't. No, FedEx is a you have to mail some things, and sometimes you have to use delivering services as long as they can prove that it was in that box. And because when they seal, there's a whole protocol of evidence that does not them mailing it doesn't lose the chain of custody as long as they have the tracking to track it from point A to point B. They do have secure ways of sending that stuff that's lawful and legal. So this stuff is built in protocol. So them FedExing it up to the labs over in like Quantico, it's perfectly standard because it doesn't matter. They seal whatever's put in that FedEx package is sealed properly with the evidence, and so they will make notification of it if they mail it to someplace and that seal is broken. The next person has to notate the seal was broken. So there's protocols. No, they can mail stuff. They're allowed to mail stuff. It does not break the chain of custody. As long as they have the receipt that it went here to here, and then they have the receipt of receiving the product, and then that item moving through their list, it does not break the chain of custody. It actually maintains the chain of custody by using FedEx because they can see the movements of it from one lab to the other physically from the FedEx website. So I no, it doesn't. That's all good. That's proper. That's how you have to mail it. You can't send. You can't. It's too costly to fly that out there to them, so it has to be mailed. So it didn't lose its chain of custody. But a great question because, you know, theoretically, if they didn't do it the right way, if they just stuck it in an envelope and put a regular U.S. mail on it, then yeah, then they've lost the chain of custody. But there's certain protocols built in to mail items to labs, and they have to use a certain type of mailing. They have to use a certain type of, you know, how long it gets there and a certain type of tracking. So I'm pretty sure that it's all sealed. It's all sealed. So now, could somebody have gotten into the package? Yeah, but once it gets to where it needs to go, then the person has to notate that the package was messed with, and then that will be challenged. But by that time, they will know how to, they'll start doing an investigation on what happened, and they'll have a result for that before trial. So there are a lot of things, a lot of nuances, but over the years, again, we've been a country for 250 years, and a lot of the policies and procedures have been established for, a long time, and they are modified, every so often to keep up with technology and other things, but mail is appropriate way of getting evidence from point A to point B. It doesn't break the chain of custody. So that's all we've got, folks. I want to tell you guys, thanks for coming out. When it comes to Miss Nancy Guthrie's case, we did just lose the most important evidence that we had. It was the hair. And granted, the hair is not completely out. They can use it to, once the suspect is found, they can use it for, certain purposes, right? But saying that it's consistent with the assailant or whatever, but it's going to be more of a low level piece of evidence more than a major piece of evidence, which we were hoping it would be. So I had a positive spin yesterday, and today not so much. Actually, it's it's a huge blow to the case. When I really processed what was going on, I can't think of any other thing than it was a huge blow to the case. This hair was important to us, and it's gone. And I thought that they got a result back, and it didn't match the suspect yesterday. Well, that's inaccurate. That was misinformed. I misinformed my audience. That's not true. It's not true. There was no conclusive findings. So it could very well match the suspect. So that was really false reporting. Okay? That was fake news. Okay? Their reporting yesterday was fake news.
Honestly, it's fake news. It's fake. That would be another example of, as you say, fake news. You know why? Fake news.
So that was a lie. It was a lie. They lied to us. And I want to point that out because there's a big difference in a sample not matching the subject and a sample being inconclusive. Those are two totally different results. So I just want to put that out there. All right, guys, rock it out with... Oops, I hit a button. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. And we're going to get back to the Sharp exchange. Lots of great information on that interview, but Christianos went on another interview because of the lawsuit from Carlos, and we're hearing that there's a possibility of a link to from Carlos to Luke Daly to potentially Abanusi. And if you know the Abanusi, that is the Persians that used to live in Nancy's home. So, in I can't remember the whatever it was, the little guest house, Castita, I can't pronounce it. Anyways, the guest house. So Miss Guthrie used to rent out the guest house. Now I'm just hearing about it. I haven't followed it, so I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying that I'm hearing. Oops. I'm just saying that I'm hearing that's. Why is my chat bogging out? Take this off. My chat's bogging out a little bit. I don't know why. Look at that. It's going on a white screen. It's going on a white screen and going back to a black screen. Okay, let's just move it on. I don't need that anymore. But where was I going? So this is just, I haven't followed it through yet. Will I find the link myself? I'm going to be looking into this avenue because we're hearing that there is a possibility. So very interesting stuff, guys. This is major breaking news, but it's not positive. And I just want to make sure all that positivity we had yesterday was snuffed away. Okay? It is snuffed away. This is not good. We had 3 items. 2 have been taken away from us, leaving us 1 possibility. And that is the mixture. And that's scary. That's way scary. So guys, thanks for being here. Don't forget to sub up for the show if you haven't already. If you're on the replay crew, don't forget to hype your girl Betty here. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Put your DNA on that thumbs up button. Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss any of our great content of breaking down these cases and what it truly means. We got it wrong yesterday, but we're fixing it today, and it doesn't look good. So guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out, and we will see you later this afternoon. God bless.